working with A4 card is the number of things that you can do with it. And in another tutorial I showed you how to make this lovely advent calendar complete with its 3D scene from A4 card die cutting using some background Christmas papers that I bought from, these ones came from Kanban Craft, which I bought on eBay. So it was just a question of making sure that you can fit your papers through your die cutting machine to create what you want to do. And obviously when you've got A4 card in landscape, as this is, a question slicing down the middle means that the sheet will pass very easily through your die cutting machine, which is important for cutting out windows on an advent calendar, and also it's important when you want to do your central scene and die cut everything. Now, obviously, background papers come in different patterns and shapes, and it gives you a great opportunity to be creative. So this one was another central die cut advent calendar that I did, and again I used a landscape format paper, which was this one, and again just cut in half, do your scene in the middle as I showed in my previous tutorial, and Bob's your uncle, you have a lovely card that will fit in a A4 envelope. It'll actually be slightly smaller than A4 in its length. They ended up about 23 centimetres wide with the 21 centimetres deep. So very simple and easy to do. Now, of course, not all pretty pictures come the right way round. So this one, for example, is very beautiful and I wanted to use it, but obviously it is not in landscape but portrait. And for that I did, again, I had to get it through my Big Shot die cutting machine, which allows up to 15.5 centimetres. So by cutting this in half horizontally, I was able to make an advent calendar that with pop-up scene, and that I did so it would stand up with your 3D scene that pops up each time. And again, I can put all the windows on the top and on the bottom of the advent calendar, folds down nicely, and again will fit in an A4 envelope. Sometimes your papers may not have a huge scene on them. So this one, for example, is very pretty with lovely effects, but maybe a little boring for a scene for an traditional advent calendar. So what I did there was I printed off some more trees and decorated, and then with my nativity scene in the middle, you've got a very pretty wooded scene with snow and then the nativity in the middle. So the possibilities are endless. It's whatever your imagination takes you to. Now, I do have a challenge with this particular portrait card, in as much that it is A4 again, but as you see, if I slice it horizontally, I'm going to go straight to the Christmas tree. But actually it's a lovely one to use, particularly when making advent calendars for smaller children who are maybe not quite so interested in pretty wooded scenes, but more about bit of action and Christmas trees and so on. So the way that I approached this was to think slightly outside the box, and again I have to allow for the fact that I can't just take this as a straight A4 piece of advent calendar, because I don't have a wide die cutting machine. Mine is the standard 15.5 centimetres. So what I did was I cut 15 centimetres down the length of the card.
I also went on my computer and did 3 A4 pages in Word, and as you can see in the middle one, I've got a load of text boxes, all of different sizes and shapes to correspond with the dies that I wanted to use, leaving a gap between the 15 centimetre strip I was going to do and the 6 centimetre. I copied and pasted those onto this first sheet and added all the pictures that I wanted to use before formatting the line and getting rid of it. On the third sheet I also transposed all those text boxes, and in those I inserted a random collection of numbers using the font and the colour and the size that I wanted, and obviously the largest one, 24, has always got to be in the largest door. And then once again I formatted the line so that there was none, and you're just left with the numbers that you can print off onto your picture paper that you're going to use for the front of your Advent calendar.
The net result of slicing vertically down this picture was to have one piece that was 15 centimetres wide, which would fit very nicely through my die cutting machine, and the other piece, whilst being full A4 length, was only 6 centimetres wide. What I then did was I took a piece of white A4 card, which I printed off as an A4 sheet, all my inner pictures for my Advent calendar. And then I did exactly the same, so that again I've got a piece that will fit under my front cover, and pictures that will fit under the thin strip. So this means that obviously I will be having to cut the windows out in the right position for these, and I'll show you how to do that in a bit. But that in principle was done. So now it was a question of what did I do in the middle. I then took a second piece of A4 white card and I scored it horizontally so that this was going to be the centerfold of my Advent calendar, and this piece was going to be the second side, with the narrow piece would stick on the end, so that once it was assembled and opened, it would look like that. Now, as you can see, by doing this line to make this side and that side similar, they're not identical in size, means that I can no longer have a completely central decoration, and that the majority of the 3D scene is going to rest on the right-hand side of the Advent calendar. Creating my scene is where I had to think hard about the maths. I've scored my line 8 centimetres from the edge in. I have 10 centimetres here to my next score line. So this is going to be the main scene, and the outermost bit of my 3D scene is going to be 10 centimetres. I'm doing 3 layers, so I decrease by 1 centimetre for each one. So the one on the inside is going to be 8 centimetres wide and just 5 centimetres deep. So you can use whatever dies that you like to make your scenes. I just thought I'd run you through what I used to create this nativity 3D scene. First of all, I've got this set here, which is useful for creating a 3D card effect and has this nativity, and I bought on eBay as unbranded. And then I've got the actual Advent calendar door cutout dies, which is a set by Creative Expressions and comes with 13 dies in total. So you've got 3 different size doors, and you've got 2 different sizes for your big Christmas Eve door. Then I've got another unbranded die here of Bethlehem and the camels. I used unbranded angel dies, little ones, for putting the angels in the sky, and then I embossed the base part of the scene using this die which came from the works and my embossing mat to make sure that it embossed rather than cut out. So that is the total number of dies I've used in this project. Obviously I did some partial die cutting and that I've shown you in previous tutorials, so please refer to them or to my blog if you want to know more about how to do it. So I decided I wanted a background, and so I painted on watercolour paper a night sky. You could use anything you like. So the next thing to do is to stick your background onto the fold of your inner piece of your advent calendar, and then to stick the pictures on the other piece of A4 card either side. So I've got the long edge here over to the right hand side of the advent calendar with the thin strip of pictures, and the wide strip on this side with the narrower edge here. Now when you fold it over, they're not going to be the same size. That doesn't matter at all for an advent calendar. And obviously, ultimately, you will be putting, once you've cut your windows out of these pieces, that will sit on the one side, and the other piece will sit nicely in the slot on this side. So at this point, if you want to decorate your sky, I'm thinking of cutting out a few little angels. I'm going to add some die-cut stars. Now's a good time to do it. So for the innermost piece of your 3D scene, you need to have the tallest piece of card. And this one I've cut out 15 centimeters wide by 17 centimeters tall. And I have scored it, the first one 1 centimeter from the edge, then 8 centimeters where I've scored that line, and then another 5 centimeters where I've scored that line. Once you've stuck the one side on, you do it at 5 centimeters. Then you take this across to the other side, and you do that one at 8 centimeters, because that's the length of this side. So it'll come up, and when you stick it, it'll be like that. Before putting the next scene on, I decided to decorate the sky, and I had some little cutout angels from an unbranded die set that I've got, and all the little stars that came from the top piece that I'm going to use, and I just stuck them in the background, and I just think it sets off the scene rather well. So doing the next piece of scenery, this is the main nativity scene, and the wide piece is now 9 centimeters across, and the side panel is 6 centimeters. And again, I've got a 1 centimeter scored border to stick. So in total, I've cut a piece of card that was 17 centimeters wide and 15 centimeters deep. So with the first piece stuck, I will then do the same on the opposite side, and my middle piece of scene will then be complete. You might wonder why it seems to be a bit short and doesn't reach the bottom, and that of course is the compromise for doing such a tall advent calendar, is that the width of that is 17 centimeters, and I can't make the height any more than 15, because that's the way it would have to go through my die cutting machine. And of course it doesn't matter, because the base piece will cover it all anyway, so it's not seen. So it's a compromise for this particular challenge of doing a 29.7 A4 or 12-inch card. Finally, I need to complete the bottom section and the top section to complete my lovely scene. Now, both of these have got a 10 centimeter length for the widest bit and 7 centimeter bit on the side, and then the 1 centimeter fold either edge. So when your bottom pieces are stuck on, then your base scene is complete, and now you just need to give attention to the top. And for that, you're going to be using your canopy piece, at least I'm going to be using my canopy piece, and obviously it's got nothing else to line up to, so you've got to make sure that you measure it correctly so that it is square in line. I've stuck your canopy in place. This is what your scene is going to look like, which I think is very pretty, and any person would enjoy having an advent calendar with that scene in the middle. And of course the great advantage is that you can fold it flat and slot it into an A4 envelope. Now obviously it's not finished because I may have the background pictures, but I need also the windows that open and that lovely scene that I showed you at the beginning. So the next step is to make a template to cut out the windows. And I've used some spare card. I've got quite a bit of this green card that I don't use a great deal of. So I've printed this out from my computer, and obviously you could cut out all those windows on this cutting board with a sharp scalpel, but that's not something my hands are physically capable of. So I'm going to be using different size square dies to cut out those shapes to make a template. And also I am going to be cutting, I've actually got this the wrong way around, I'm going to be cutting the narrow strip off there, 15 centimetres this size, so that both will fit very nicely through my die cutting machine. Template just helps for you to line up your dies before running them through your die cutting machine. And although the numbers on your card printed out are reasonably central, just positioning them like that and then putting your template over, making sure the edges are accurate, means you can adjust things to make sure that the important picture that's underneath that is going to be absolutely in the right place. And you can do the same with the other dies, and then use some low tack tape to keep the dies in place and run them through the Big Shot. I tend to do one at a time, but there's no earthly reason why you can't do several at once. Once you've finished, you end up with your dies cut out in the right places, and I did the same on the other side as well. So now you're ready to stick these onto your advent calendar, and in order to do that easily, the important bit is to make sure that you don't get any glue over the perforated edges. And I find that both using the all-purpose glue and or PVA is that sometimes it's quite difficult to avoid spread, and so the easiest way I've found is to use a thick nib glue pen, and so I can see exactly where I am placing the glue, and the Nuovo pen stays quite sticky, so even though with my weak hands it can take me a little while to get around all of these, it'll remain sticky, and then it is just a question of taking your almost complete advent calendar and making sure those edges line up beautifully. So line them up very carefully before you start pressing down, and then you can press down firmly and the picture will stick on top of the card, but your windows will be left free and ready for you to open as you want. So for finishing touches to your project, you can just add some glitter if you like, and the way I do that is just to put a little bit of PVA glue in an egg cup, add some glitter, mix it in, and then you can just apply the glitter anywhere you fancy doing. And it just adds a nice decorative effect. I'm just doing one final finishing touch, and that I've cut out a strip of the full length of the A4 card that's just 2 centimeters wide, and once this glitter is dry I will then stick this little trim in place just to make a very neat edge, and the advent calendar is completed. Thank you for watching, and I hope it's inspired you to go away and create something entirely bespoke that your family can enjoy too.